Hello and welcome to High School History. Uh, I'm starting a new series called The Alumni Connect. Sanskriti School has sent out a number of young men and women out to the world, and they are already making a mark for themselves there. So I thought, what better way than to connect with them, learn from them, what their academic experiences were, how they're faring in the work world, what their life experiences are, and pass on this learning to the new generation of learners. So today we are connecting with Surbhi Bhambri, who is from the 2010 batch of Sanskriti School. And she has had a pretty interesting career path. She's working in this amazing museum in the UAE, which has access to a lot of material from a history which is almost 7,000 years old. So without much ado, here is Surbhi Bhambri, and let's get on with the conversation. Hello everyone. I'd like you all to meet Surbhi Bhambri today. She is an alumnus of Sanskriti School, batch of 2010. I thought she has a very interesting life path, which I think a lot of us can learn a great deal from. This project has been my dream for a while. In fact, Sangeeta Gulati ma'am and I have been talking about how we can, engage with the alumni and share what they are learning through their lives. But sometimes time and kind of distance can always be this huge challenge. And we thought that trying out a kind of a video chat and perhaps put that up as a video. We tried a live stream that didn't work for some reason, vagaries of technology. But anyway, so we'll move over to Surbhi. And to start with, Surbhi, just tell us very quickly about um, your journey in 11th and 12th, which would be years 2008 onwards, middle of 2008 onwards, right? Till 2010 when you passed out of school. So very quick. Oops, has the call dropped? Yeah, we're
Sorry, I
back
don't know what
online.
happened.
Doesn't matter. Hangout does do this sometimes, but that I'll edit out. So
Okay.
anyway, so did you get my entire question?
No, you'll have to repeat that again.
Okay. So, what we're asking you today is to give us a quick overview of your journey in class 11th and 12th in Sanskriti school.
Okay. Just academically or overall?
Overall, definitely, not just academics. Yeah.
Okay. So,
Mm-hmm.
well, it was quite interesting. Academically, I started off doing science, and I don't know if you remember that, but yeah, I did physics, chemistry, maths, economics. Got the dreaded combination. And almost finished the full year before I realized that it was not my cup of tea. And I needed to do something else with my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember coming to you and being like, "Ma'am, am I going to be able to do this if I switch over in class 12?" Um, and I think everyone in school was really encouraging and said, "Yeah, go ahead, go over and change." So I did. I did take the decision to take up political science and history and keep my other subjects. And class 12 was, wow, it was it was more of it's a blur now, but it went really quickly with all of the things that were happening. We had the student council, the interact club, all of that was happening. So yeah, and ended up taking up arts in class 12, and I think that was the best decision I made.
So once you finished with school, you moved on to I think Saint Stephen's, and
Yes.
yeah. So what were your subjects there?
Yeah, so I did my bachelor's in history at Stephens, and we were still in the annual system in DU in my time, so we were still doing the old subjects. I'm not sure how the system's changed now, but we had ancient world history and ancient Indian history in the first year, and then we had medieval India. So we had modern India, early. No, I'm completely confusing this. American history, a little bit of medieval history, early medieval history. We had early modern history, and I had to select between one of the two. So I did American instead of Russian history, and then final year we did China and Japan. We did all of the rest of Indian history. So modern and Mughals. We completed all of that. So we covered all aspects of world history in Stephens.
So what motivated you to then move overseas? You went in for your higher studies to England, if I'm
So
not mistaken, huh?
I'd always been talking about doing archaeology. It was I don't know where it came from. I think it was, in fact, I think it was a whim. And I remember when we were applying for undergraduate courses, mom and I just sat down. She was like, "I think you should apply to some universities abroad and see how it goes then." And we were going through the list of subjects, and I went, "Ooh, archaeology sounds really interesting, and I think I should do that." And I applied to a few universities, and for whatever reason, it didn't work out at the time. It didn't work out then, and I ended up in Stephens. But that always stayed in my head that I wanted to study archaeology and I wanted to pursue that. And I'd spoken to a few people in Delhi University. I'd spoken to Nainjot Lahiri, who's a very well-known archaeologist,
She
and
is.
I'd spoken to a bunch of my own professors at Stephens, and they said that you could do it at JNU as one module if you wanted to pursue your masters, or you could do it at the Deccan School of Archaeology. But again, they haven't really progressed in their method of teaching and still really focus on the Indus Valley civilization and don't really go anywhere beyond that.
That's true.
And everyone recommended that I go abroad if I wanted to do it. So I applied. I applied to I think only two schools. I applied to Oxford and I applied to Durham, which is in the north of England. And I got into both schools, and of course, there was no question where I was going. Once I got Oxford, I decided to pick that. So I did 2 years of archaeology at Oxford, um, and it basically came out of a whim.
So the 2 years that you spent at Oxford studying archaeology, what was your field work like? Where in the field
Okay,
have you
so
worked, huh?
that's the thing. Now, when you do a master's degree in England in archaeology, you're not expected to do fieldwork whatsoever.
Okay.
It's all theoretical, and if you want to do fieldwork, that's on your own time and your own expenses. So my first experience doing fieldwork. Now I had a group of friends at Oxford who had all done really well in the field of archaeology. They'd been doing it for a long period of time. Some of them were pursuing PhDs in it. Some of them had done it as an undergrad degree and were doing a master. So they'd all told me that I'll either hate the fieldwork or I'll absolutely love the fieldwork. Like there's no middle ground with it. And my first fieldwork experience was at Dorchester on Thames, which is very close to Oxford. It was a Roman site that they were excavating, and because it was part of the Oxford Field School, that's where I first went for my fieldwork experience. And I dug with them for 2 weeks, and I absolutely loved it. I think, in my opinion, it's the best kind of experience you can get, especially if you're a history and an archaeology buff.
So you said you absolutely loved it. Any one particular event or episode kind of stands out in your memory and said, "I'm in the right field."
I think it was so the now I don't know what students really think of when they think of archaeology. I think we all have this idea that you're going to dig up something really amazing,
Huh.
but all you're really doing is digging up sand for the most part of it. But there are these small changes you need to notice when you're digging up whatever kind of soil you're digging up. You need to keep track of like color change, very subtle color change in soil when you're digging up like trenches that you're digging. And for the first week, I remember just being there, getting really frustrated, going, I do not get this. I don't know how far I'm meant to be digging. I don't know if I'm supposed to be digging a circle or a square or a rectangle. I'm really not sure what I'm doing. And I always had someone telling me that, okay, stop now. You've gone too far ahead, or, you keep digging. But by the first, I was realizing that I was getting the hang of it. I knew exactly what I was trying to find. And then I was given the responsibility of digging up these amphora jars that were it, in the ground in a sort of semicircular fashion, which was around like this ritual. I think it was an altar that they were digging, and it was really close to the altar, so they thought they had some sort of ritual significance. And when I was told to dig that by myself, and I figured out how far was meant to actually go with them, and how exactly I was meant to get them out of the ground without breaking them, that was when I realized,
Oh, wow.
this is excellent. Yeah, this is great.
Yeah. So then you went on to completing your master's in archaeology, and then you had
Yeah.
a short stint, I think, at Durham. Durham.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Durham. Yeah, so
Durham.
I spent a year at Durham doing museum and artifact studies. So I moved over from archaeology. So my second year at Oxford, I did a degree. I did a module on body and adornment, and that was focused more on things you find in medieval England on people. So in burials, and even in representations of people in statues and things like that, or paintings. And that had a lot to do with museum work. I was cataloging. I was learning how to identify objects, and that piqued my interest. And I thought that was actually quite interesting because well, it was also a consideration that, is there any worth sticking on to archaeology just as fieldwork? Is it going to get me anywhere? Am I going to be able to stay on and work in the UK? Those kind of considerations, of course.
Yes.
Which meant that I figured that it would be better to do some sort of museum training. And that would kind of help me progress in the kind of career I wanted to finally take up.
Okay.
So I did a year of that in Durham.
Okay. So how did then your career path kind of take off from there, and where are you now?
So after finishing my degree in Durham, I worked in a bunch of museums part time, kind of full time in Durham itself, while I still was on my student visa. And it just so happened that an old student of a professor who was teaching me at Durham had gotten in touch with him and had sent him this job app, like a job description, saying that, can you please pass it on to your students? I'm looking for someone to come and help me out. And it was for an education officer at a museum in the UAE. And I think I was the only one in my class who applied for that job. I ended up getting that job. So at the moment I'm in Russell Khema in the United Arab Emirates, working as an education officer for the National Museum there.
So what does your typical day look like at your current job?
It can be from just sitting on my computer planning education programs to organizing loans for the Louvre Abu Dhabi to leading school groups around the museum, doing sessions with them. It varies every single day, which is what is extremely exciting about the current job that I'm in. It's a small museum, we're a very small staff, so I get to dabble in different aspects of museum life, which I might not have been able to do if I was anywhere else.
So what's the focus area in this museum? Are they only focusing on the history of UAE and the Middle East, or is it a much wider kind of collection?
No, it is. It is only focused. In fact, its focus is only on the Emirate of Ras Al Khaimah, not even on the history of the UAE.
Okay.
Very little is known about this emirate out in the outside world. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to talk about the archaeology. In fact, people living in Ras Al Khaimah also are not aware that the history goes back about 7,000 years. They only think that the history started somewhere when the Emirates was formed. So their focus is putting up archaeology objects. So we've got quite a big archaeological collection because there's lots of archaeological excavations happening around Ras Al Khaimah at the moment as well. So we're working with the archaeologists and the museum team. We're working in a fairly close network, and so that's one of the collections. And then we've got ethnography. And that focuses on the history of pearl diving, which is completely died out in the UAE at the moment. So that's something that's really popular. People really like to come and learn more about that. And then just other bits and pieces of how people lived and what houses look like or what the life looked like and things like that.
Okay. So you said Russell Khema, its history kind of goes back to about 7,000 years. So was this part of the network of the Mesopotamian civilization,
It
pre-Mesopotamian?
was.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. In fact, it was definitely part of the Mesopotamian civilization. It kind of falls in that Meluha. So it was called Dilmun was Bahrain,
Mm-hmm.
and this was the Magan region.
Mm-hmm.
So with Oman, this was where the trade was passing through. So you
Okay.
get we've got a small case on in the Sali
Oh,
civilization
lovely.
artifacts. So we've got carnelian beads and we've got the dirt weights and a reconstructed jar and a bronze knife from the Sali civilization. We don't have any artifacts per se from the Mesopotamian civilization, but you get very similar looking seals that found in various settlements around Ras Al Khaimah. That there's cylinder seals, of course, and they kind of remind you of the Mesopotamian
Oh,
civilization.
that's really
But
exciting, huh?
definitely part of that network.
Yeah. So, in fact, I have just concluded the lesson on the Harappan civilization in school. And
Okay.
I think this particular segment of the video is going to be so exciting for the students to actually have someone having seen someone like you who's actually seen and perhaps handled
Yeah.
those artifacts from the Harappan civilization. So that's quite
Yeah.
exciting.
It's pretty amazing, and what's actually really nice about it as well is that I don't realize how many people actually don't know about the Sali civilization. We learn it so much in school, but other people from around the world have no idea that where it's from, where it existed, when it existed. They know about Egypt, they know about Mesopotamia. Nobody knows about the Indus Valley civilization. So I love talking about it, and I
Yeah.
think
So
I talk a
perhaps you can
lot
change
about it
that.
when I'm
Hmm.
taking
Yeah.
tour groups around.
Yeah, so you can we can definitely look forward to you perhaps making a kind of a splash there by changing that perception that
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, definitely. Hopefully,
Yeah,
yeah,
so that's wonderful. It's so amazing to see you in an area which perhaps could be called a dream job for a whole bunch of
yeah,
students. Yeah. Now I would like you to go back to your school days in Sanskriti. And what I would ask you is, do you think that Sanskriti in any way prepared you for the kind of work environment that you're in, the kind of career path you've drawn
no.
out?
I mean, it in terms of getting me interested in it, definitely. I think if it hadn't been for your classes, I would not have been interested in doing what I'm doing at the moment. But in terms of the practical sides of working in this sector, I don't think so. I don't even think that university prepared me for it. I don't think Delhi University prepared me for it. So I don't think we've got that kind of we've not got a handle on this subject, on this area in terms of helping people take it up as a career at the
Mm-hmm.
moment. So there was a lot of figuring out that I had to do on my own
Mm-hmm.
once I moved to the UK. And I'm still having to do it. It's not easy, but once you make the connections, then it becomes easier. But it would have been, I don't know if it's possible or not, but it would have been nice to have met maybe a few people who are working in the sector, having spoken to someone um, at that early on,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing if we could have gotten some tips from them and seen what they said about working in the sector.
Mm-hmm. So this was very sector specific, but let me just
Mm.
rephrase the question a little bit. Does did Sanskriti school prepare you for the world in general? I mean, the fact that you're on your own, you've had to push your way through in a whole lot of areas. Do you think school education per se, I mean, not just specific to Sanskriti, but do you
Mm.
think school really prepares you for a life ahead beyond school? Does it do that
I think
at
it's.
all?
I think it was very sheltered. I think
Uh,
school education was very, very sheltered. We did not know what we were getting into when we moved on from that. I mean, to some extent, yes. Like the Trava trips and things, they really open your eyes to the world. But
mhm,
you're still in school and you're still in the same group of people that you've been with for so long, and those relationships change so drastically once you leave school. I think we learned the hard way that we're going to have to give up that connection with school fairly quickly
mhm.
once you move on, and it remains like we all still think very fondly about school, but you can't actually, it's someone else's school now. Like it doesn't feel like that same sort of connection anymore in some sense. I don't
Well,
know
the buildings
if
are
you're
the
getting
same,
what I'm
and most
saying.
of your teachers are the same too. It's just the students' faces which change year to year. So, yeah.
Yeah, so
So
I mean,
yeah.
but yeah, it was still very sheltered.
Hmm.
And it doesn't prepare you completely for the world. No.
So, anything that you would think that we could do differently, the teachers perhaps of the school could do differently to maybe give you a few more tools to deal with life better? I don't know. I mean, um,
I don't know.
do
That's a really
hmm.
hard question to answer. I think the way we went through school was what we needed at the time,
Hmm.
even though it doesn't prepare you for further on. And I don't think there's much that can be changed in terms of preparing us for the real world, except maybe encouraging more, encouraging us to go and like maybe work a little bit more while we're still at school.
Hmm.
Um, that's something that our culture lacks here is working at a young age, getting that experience right at the age of maybe 16, 17,
Hmm.
which I've found that a lot of people here or abroad tend to do a lot earlier on. They handle their finances themselves.
Hmm.
They're working from a very young age. They go out and get that experience. Or whether it can be just small odd jobs, just things like that. I think make a difference. I don't know. Maybe that change is necessary
Hmm.
from a school
Yeah.
level.
So I think that'll be a far deeper systemic change that you're talking about, where not just the
Mm.
school, I think where
Yeah, I guess.
curriculum,
Yeah, not just a school.
yeah, where people who design the overall curriculum, they need to
Yeah.
keep that in mind. I think parents also need to
Yes.
change,
Yes.
how they view the whole working at 16 kind of a
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah,
Which is
I
why
think a lot of
I was
parents
saying that
struggle with that
it's really
idea
difficult.
when,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. So it's
Yeah.
also a
I
cultural
think
thing with
it was
us.
just the I think it was just the independence that you get once you move away from school, that you realize you don't tend to we don't treat it the same way that some people I've met over the course of the last 8 years that I've left will deal with it, and they appreciate it a lot more once
Mm-hmm.
you've been through certain ways of life. So yeah, just some things that I feel we're a lot more sheltered from,
Yeah.
and that might make a huge difference when you enter the real world.
Great. So now let's come to a more crucial question here. You've been out of school now for about 8 years. You have
Mm.
chalked out a career plan, and we know you're going to do really well in future as well. So what's that one piece of advice you would have for students now who are in 11th or 12th or maybe even early years of college? I mean, that one bit of advice as a senior that you would leave for them.
I think one thing I'd say is if you think that there's a certain thing that you want to do, I think you should pursue it no matter how hard it feels. Anything will be hard, but don't take what you think might be the easy path. I tried that by doing physics, chemistry, maths, that combination in class 11, and I would have regretted it a lot if I'd continued with it. Yes, this path wasn't easy. I've had to find ways around it. I've had to go about in a roundabout way to get where I am at the moment. But it's been very good. It's been amazing, and I wouldn't change it whatsoever. So I think that would be my advice to them. If you feel that there's one path that you want to follow, just go for it.
Yeah. So it was wonderful talking to you, Surbhi. It's been a long
It was
time that
lovely
we've
speaking to
met
you.
you as
Yeah,
well. So, and of course, I was extremely excited to know that the kind of career path that you had kind of drawn out for yourself with engagement with archaeology, and now you're in the education sector with the museum. And I think museums can do a great deal, can get
yeah,
engaged in a great deal of very positive education for
absolutely.
children. So we definitely look forward to kind of sort of another brain picking session where maybe we can have a chat on how you think the museum system in India can change now that you have
Yeah,
worked.
definitely.
Yeah. So, but that will be a topic for another long, long session.
Yeah.
I wish we could do the live stream bit. It didn't work, but
I know.
but another time perhaps when things are better. So it was great
Yeah.
talking to you,
Yeah.
Sulbhi, and we will try and do this again sometime soon.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
It's
what I'll
lovely
do is
speaking to you as well, ma'am.
yeah, so I will stop the recording for now. Yeah, so now you can
Okay.
relax a bit.